Hello, everyone. This video is to go ahead and just present the main points of Chapter 1 to also help with the assignment that will be on Blackboard to build the communication model. And so, Chapter 1 talks to us about business and professional communication, the foundation, understanding it. It's going to define communication, explain the three parts of communication, the axioms of communication competence, different communication models, and the context of communication. So, communication is sharing, understanding, and meaning. So, while you share your message with the audience, it's important for them to understand what you're saying, but it matters on both participants, right? The presenter and the audience member. And together you make shared meaning, right? You're presenting the message effectively. As an audience member, you're listening, you're trying to gain understanding of what's being presented to you and why it's important to you. So it's all interconnected. A definition of it is communication is a process of people sharing thoughts, ideas, and feelings in commonly understandable ways in order to share meaning. The five axioms is means like important things to understand about communication. So axiom one is one cannot not communicate. So meaning that even if you don't say anything, you communicate non-verbally through eye contact, facial expressions. Like if you're unhappy about something, you go ahead and demonstrate that in your facial expression. Axiom two, every communication has a content and relationship aspect. So I've been here presenting about chapter one. There's the instructor, you're the student. The content that we're talking about is a foundation of communication. Axiom three, the nature of a relationship is dependent on the punctuation of the partner's communication procedures. So, what the other person is doing, a feedback from the other individual. Axiom four, human communication involves both digital and analogical modalities. So, we communicate in different ways, face to face, but even in different online platforms. Axiom 5, communication processes are either symmetric or complementary, depending on the relationship of the partners and based on different differences or parity. So again, just that give and take of communication relationships, that interaction, shared meaning that you're making with the audience member or the individual that you may be communicating with. Communication competence is how to be an effective presenter, how to convey your message effectively. You want to adapt, you want to be empathetic, adapt to the audience. Empathetic means that you step into their shoes. You want to have a conversation involvement, conversational management. You have an appropriate message. Cognitive complexity, meaning that, think about the grade level, the education level. Like if it's small children, that cognitive complexity is going to be different, meaning cognitive is how we learn. So the vocabulary that you might use for children is going to be different from adults. Listening skills, you monitor, you have strong nonverbal communication, and you always keep ethics in mind. Linear models. So when you do your communication model, you can use some of these. So you can use these factors, these elements in the communication model. Communication models explain the process of communication and what happens when we communicate with others. And they have different elements. So you can use some of this and then add your own. So here it has the encoder decoder. So encoder is the person creating the message. So myself here on chapter 1. And the decoder is you, the receiver. So I'm the sender, you're the receiver, and you're assigning meaning and you're interpreting this chapter. The channel that we're using is here online, Blackboard, or it could be face to face. The message is about what are the key points of chapter 1. And the noise can be anything that interrupts the message. So if you're listening to other things or you're at home and there's maybe background noise, it can be a distraction. It's a different noise that we have in the linear model. The elements of it that I explained briefly are sender, encodes the message, you make the message. Receiver decodes, you assign meaning. A message, what is it? Verbal, nonverbal, what I'm saying about the chapter. Nonverbal is, my facial expressions, eye contact with you, even here online. The channel, how I'm sending the message. Noise, anything that interferes. The transactional model was built off of the linear model. It was developed more. And It's not, just sender receiver. You're sending a message, you're receiving a message, but you're co-creating meaning. So you're making meaning together. And it matters on your culture or your social context, at school, work, your relational context, the professor, the student, psychological context, any preconceived ideas, notions, experiences. So that all comes into play in making meaning and communicating. So when you do your communication model, you're going to take some of this and you can add your own. Maybe you want to put language, maybe you want to put upbringing or things like that. And you can even do this, use these models as well. Communication in context, we have different types of communication. And we have intrapersonal. So when we communicate with ourselves, we're thinking about what we're going to be doing this day. Interpersonal is one on one, like the interview exercise that we'll be doing. Group is three or more, like our group project that we'll be doing. Public speaking is when you speak to an audience that is more than three people. It can be 10, 15, 20. You have that public speaking factor. And mediated communication, mass mediated communication, broadcast, newspapers, now mainly online, but in different ways that we present messages. So, key takeaways, the chapters talk to us about the principles of communication, the definition, axioms, the components of the communication models here, and then it ended with the context of communication in which it occurs. So, if you have any questions about anything, reach out, view it, make sure that, this helps with the assignment. If you have any questions, then you let me know. Thank you.